Good old Wayne Tubes bringing us into the podcast this week. Welcome back, everybody, to the Fair Grounds Racing Podcast, Season 2, Episode 3. My name is Chad Schexnayder, and I'm happy to bring in the godfather of Fair Grounds handicapping, Mikey D, Mike Diliberto. What's up?
Not a whole lot. Big day coming up Saturday with Champions Day. Always a really good card.
Yeah, Louisiana Champions Day weekend is right in front of us, and Champions Day has been a big deal here in NOLA since 1991. 30-plus years, this day has been a staple on the Fairgrounds calendar, and man, horses from Dixie Poker Race to Hallowed Dreams to Scott Scoundrel, the first millionaire la bred, Star Guitar, and we can't forget about those Z horses, right? Zapardo, Ardo, and some of those great Louisiana breds. 20 years ago, we were looking at it, they had one millionaire. Now on the Louisiana bred list that you got over there, 9 millionaires that are Louisiana breds and counting.
Goes to show you how popular the Louisiana bred program is. Because believe me, if you got one that can run for 3 or 4 years, especially route horses for Louisiana breds, they all went over $500,000.
Any favorite Louisiana bred of all time?
There's about 7 or 8 of them. But you know what? I got to still stick with the old time of Star Guitar just because he kept coming back year after year after year. And it's hard to keep doing that year after year and hold that form. But, I mean, look at his records, Chad. You showed me. 24 wins and no seconds. So when he fired, he got the job. He just had heart and he got the job done. Only 30 starts. So he had 24 wins out of 30 career starts.
No seconds. I didn't even realize
seconds.
that.
That's unheard of.
That is believable. Yeah, I was a huge, back in the day, a greenhorn I was. I loved Hallowed Dreams. I thought she was just the greatest thing since sliced bread when she ran back in the early 2000s. And
and you know what? We got 2 fillies going to be running in this Saturday. That might end up being as good as her or even better, because they look like they're really talented.
Yep. Another horse I bet on Louisiana bred that I really like. Remember a horse named High Tie?
Yeah.
A crack sprinter, boy. He was just a crack sprinter.
He was fast, son of a gun.
He was fast on the front end, and he went through some trainers.
Broberg had him for a while.
Yeah, Broberg had him. But I love that horse. That horse was just fast. But let's go back last week. If we check out the standings, what a weekend, huh? Last weekend for Sam David and Marcelino Pedroza. They're on fire, and we got some barns that started out really, really hot.
Well, it shows you the horses that were here early in the beginning when we started training, way back at the end of October. The ones that were here are all doing good. Tucker Alonso, Sam David, and Jose Cameo. All of those horses have been here for 4 or 5 weeks, and all of them ready to run, and hey, the locals are doing good.
Yeah, we picked our owners, who we thought was going to be our leading owners in the preview podcast, and I think we mentioned Britland, but boy, Miss Evelyn's Britland. I heard Jose Cameo combined for 7 wins already right out the box. And Britland stable overall, 15 starts, 7 wins in 3 seconds. I don't know how many horses they have left to run, but boy, 7 wins is very impressive in the first 2 weeks.
Well, I know, Cox and Stidham, they'll get the Godolphin horses ready in the next few weeks. They'll start probably showing up in the entries. But like you said, when they give them a 7-win advantage, it takes a while to catch up to that.
Yep. On the trainer side, we mentioned Jose Cameo with those Britland horses, 7 wins, leads the group. Sam David, with those 4 wins on Sunday, has 6 wins out of 18 starts. Brad Cox and Tom Amos right there. They're going to be right there. A couple of ones that are off the slow starts, but the big barn, Joey Foster, usually he runs his horses, but he's only 1 for 16. And I think the biggest surprise, Steve Asmussen, Brendan Walsh, Mike Maker, and Mark Cassie, all over.
Yeah, well,
but those guys are going to win. And when they win, they're coming.
They came in late, so they're just showing up and getting their feet wet. But believe me, we know they'll win their share.
Yeah, Hartman too. They're sitting at 0-8 the first couple of weeks. Mark Cassie with no board hits so far. Like I said, Maker, Walsh 0 for 9, and Steve's. I imagine there's no doubt he's going to get off the duck this weekend.
I would imagine so.
And Tucker Alonso, you mentioned Tucker. 5 wins for him, too. He's right up there with the Cox and Amos with 13 starts, and we wish Tucker the best this week, too.
Yeah, Tucker's going to have a little procedure done, but believe me, Tucker just, he had his horses ready. They all were working and training really well, galloping out really well, and it showed up in the enters.
So Saturday's card starts at noon with 3 quarter-horse races, the Classic, the Juvenile, and the Derby. The following 10 races include 2 allowance races, 7 stakes, and there's a maiden special weight 6 furlong dash for 2-year-olds at the end of the 13-race card. We're going to go ahead and get right into it here. Saturday, let's kick it off with this fifth race on the card. And this one starts off kind of in the middle of the card, but it's the Louisiana Champions Day ladies distaff, Mike. And what do we have up in this race? Mile and a 16th for the older fillies and mares.
Well, I tell you, it's a short field because you don't get that many wanting to go a route of ground, especially for the fillies. But, Netta Bear is the solid morning line favorite. And, I mean, you can't knock her. She's won over $400,000. She runs dirt or turf. So I got to give her, a good chance in here. Another horse, Bobby Mahoney's horse, Eileen Alexandra. That's a filly that, Bobby Mahoney has a restaurant over on the Gulf Coast that everybody likes over there. But quick and fast in a hurry, Steve Flint's filly, she always shows up. But I'm going to go with Fort Polk. I mean, this horse, since they took the blinkers off, has 3 wins and a third out of 5 starts and been training as good as any horse on the ground. I mean, every time she comes up and works every 7 days, lights out. So I just think she's sitting on a big, big race for Pat Mouton.
Fort Polk is interesting because I looked at this horse and it's raced 29 times. It'll be going to the gate for the 30th time, and its only stakes try was 2 starts back. So you're looking at a horse that's been spending its life in an allowance company, had a third 2 starts back against Netta Bear. But like you said, has won at the fairgrounds, has 6 wins. It's just kind of weird to see a 5-year-old mare making only a second stakes try with 29 starts under her belt.
Well, I think that was the difference, was they finally decided to take the blinkers off of her. The light seemed to go on. And she ran only 3 lengths behind Netta Bear, who Netta Bear's better on the turf, and Fort Polk's better on the dirt, and now they're back on the dirt. So I think Fort Polk's going to give her a run for the money.
Yeah, it's a pretty open race. I mean, you got Quick, Fast, in a Hurry, who loves to run second. Has a ton of seconds in that one's PP lines. And like you said, Netta Bear, she's doing really well. And she was second in the ladies' turf here last year. So you got to think she's going to end up the favorite. Eileen Alexandra's probably the one that interests me the most, like you said. I think this was the most lightly raced filly in the race with 8 starts and 2 wins. He has a win at the track at the fairgrounds. You get, Stokes coming in to ride. That the race at Delta wasn't a factor, but I think they were looking at this race all along. So, I think for the price, Eileen Alexandra might be sort of the lean for me if she's anywhere near 6-1.
Right.
That's the 5th race on Champions Day. Let's skip it ahead and go to the 7th race. That's for the ladies' sprint Champions Day. In this race, everybody's going to make a match race out of this. And probably for good reason, but you got 2 really strong sprinting fillies here that have both proven that good lawbreds can hang with the best in the country, in Scylla and Overcharged.
I agree with you 100%, and I'm another one that if it's not a match race, I really just think these 2 fillies will be right up there early, and then after half a mile be drawn away from the field, and believe me, they'll be running at the wire. I mean, Overcharged, she's won 3 or 4 starts with 1 second. The second came in a grade 3 at Belmont. So, that was really, really strong race. And she ran 109-2 opening week here at the fairgrounds. So, she's at the top of her game and ready to run, and Camayo's doing everything right now. But Scylla, I mean, how can you fault this filly? Her last 4 starts, 4 wins in a row, including a grade 2, beating Super Sensational, the horse that beat Overcharged in that grade 3, and won a grade 2 at Saratoga. And they came back and ran a solid third after having the lead, going 7 furlongs, leading in the stretch in a grade 2 at Keeneland. So I made Scylla a slight 6-5 favorite over Overcharged at 7-5, but I'd be very surprised if one of them didn't win.
Very surprised. I agree. And the biggest question in this race from a pace standpoint is can Strong Beauty down there on the rail take any starch out of Overcharged to maybe soften her up a little bit for Scylla maybe to come and get past her. But like I said, I think Overcharged is going to find herself out there on the lead with Scylla. I don't think they get tangled right away. I think that, Strong Beauty's got a little speed, and I think she has to show it because that's her only chance. But how much starch can she take out of Overcharge to maybe set things up for Scylla? But I like Scylla a bunch, man. She's, I used her that day at Saratoga when she was 10-1. The lawbred popped that day, and just got a great ride from Tyler Gaffleone that day. So we'll see what happens. But I'm with you. This has match race written all over it in the stretch. Going looking ahead to the 8th race. We're going to take a look at the mile and an 1/8 Louisiana Classic Champions Day. This race usually ends the card. They put this race in the 8th out of 13, and it's a good competitive field here. But we're not looking at usually in this race you end up with the same ones over and over, and I'm kind of looking for a fresh face in here. We got a couple of questions to answer as far as horses that are cross-entered around this race, and we didn't talk about it yet, but there is rain in the forecast on Saturday. I don't know when it's going to rain, but it looks like it will rain. So take that into affect when you're handicapping the card. You put last year's winner, Grand Luigi, gets the rail for Gerard Perron at 4-1 on the morning line, and this horse has been on wet tracks before, and he won this race last year.
And you can't knock him. He's already proven at the distance, winning this race last year at a mile and an eighth, which a lot of these horses haven't proven they can go a mile and an eighth. A little bit, that was his only win in, the year before, but he only had one other win this year, 1 out of 8. But it looks like he, might have leaded his last race. He might be coming into the race off his second start off of a layoff, and he got a good rider, top rider here in Kobe Hernandez. So I think he'll be right up there, stalking the pace, and he could be very dangerous. But pound per pound, this is a horse for course. 4 wins in 3 seconds in 9 lifetime starts here at the Fairgrounds. So does his best running at the Fairgrounds and seems to do really well for Aubrey Green. Mm-hmm. Every time Aubrey Green rides this horse, either a win or a close second right there. So
right.
I think this filly, this colt will be right up there by the lead, and I think might be able to take him gate to wire in here. But there's a couple other ones, you can't throw out. Who took the money? Brett Calhoun's colt. He showed a lot of promise early last year. His last start, I guess that's a throw out. It was an awkward start. So, throw that race out and you go to his previous races and, off of his best, he could step up and improve and run good.
No, he's definitely the new blood in here that I think everybody took a look at. You got him 9-2 in the morning line. Brett Calhoun's going to play weatherman a little bit with both this horse and Highland Creek as they're also cross-entered in the turf race. If I had to guess, I'd say who took the money probably stays here, and Highland Creek maybe goes into turf. He's got the win over the turf last December here. Not really known as a turf horse, but I think both of these Brett Calhoun horses are the ones that have upside going into this race. And looking at pound for pound, this horse won this race back in 2019. So this horse, like you said, loves the Fairgrounds, 5-2 in the morning line. You got to think that race at Delta last out was just a prep for this one. And being a 6-year-old horse, like you said, Aubrey Green knows how to get this one to roll. And we'll see what happens. I think also, too, you have unrestricted. I think it'd be part of the pace up there with the one horse, Grand Luigi. But a competitive classic field. And like we said, some new blood here to with these Calhoun horses. No matter what Brett decides to do, I think he's got a shot.
I agree with you there. Both of them look like they live.
The 9th race on the card is the Louisiana Champions Day Juvenile. 6 furlongs here. Really good race. I think this is really one of the most competitive races on the card. We're not sure what the 5 Braun and Brow is going to do. Could run here. Could run in the 13th race, which is the maiden special weight. This horse coming from California. Let's touch on some of the ones that we've seen so far. And I had Dallas Stewart on the podcast earlier this week, and he's pretty high on Unified Report. And you can see why. It's undefeated colt, Valine Farms, who's probably has the most wins on Champions Day than any owners in the state, I would imagine. These guys point for this type of day, Murray Valine and those guys. So this horse has been very impressive in his first 2 starts. Mike, what has he been like on the track since he got here?
He's worked very well. Dallas worked him the other day. He looked good finished up in 12 and change. And like you said, he's 2 for 2. He won a stake race in his last start at Delta, beating a pretty good field. A lot of these same horses. So he deserves to be favored. And he gets Brian Hernandez Jr., who, in my opinion, is the top rider at the Fairgrounds this year.
Yeah, Unified Report, damn closing report. Actually, Louisiana bred that Brett Calhoun had was a stakes winner in Louisiana back in 2014. So out of a decent, classy dam, Unified on top. I think that horse is definitely the one to beat, but there's some other directions here that you can go with some nice horses.
Oh, if he don't fire his best shot, To the Tambourine, they added blinkers to him Jose Camaro did for his last start, and he just blew the field away, winning by 5, got his best figure so far to date, so you got to think he has a shot. Like you said, the question mark horse is the Brown and Bro horse. Paid $200,000 for him. Didn't run bad first time out in an open company race at Del Mar and, finishing 3rd. They added blinkers to him, and he had a very nice blowout on December the 4th, 47-3. So, I think I'll look for him to show a little bit more speed than he did in his maiden race, and I think he's got a legitimate shot. Vodka Gimlet, this is another one that, I think he's been knocking on the door, and he's run a couple of good races. He beat To the Tambourine, 2 races back when he broke his maiden. So, believe me, there's 4 or 5 of them in here could upset him, but Dallas's horse, the fact that he's 2 for 2 and got Brian Hernandez, I'd have to give him the slight nod.
Yeah, Vodka Gimlet, man, that horse just doesn't like to break. That horse he just doesn't like to get out the gate very fast. And in a sprint race like this, he could be up against it. One horse I did want to talk about is Feisty Fist. I think this one can get a little lost on the tote board. And this one for Steve Flint, 2 for 4. That race 2 back was pretty impressive. In the Shine Young. And usually you see the Shine Young over at Evangeline. That's their marquee race. It was running in the mud. Remember, we could have rain on Saturday. If it comes up wet, I like to give this horse maybe a second look. Been training really well at Evangeline. You see the horse it comes from the farm, so you're not sure what this horse is going to do. But I like this horse a little bit. I think it gets lost on the board at 8-1.
Well, just that you mentioned that, Steve Flint called me yesterday morning wanting to know what the odds are on this horse. He said, I can't find him online yet.
Right.
I said, well, he's 8-1. He says, oh, thank you. That's what I want, at least 8-1. So obviously he thinks he's going to run good and he likes the price.
No, I think this horse is going to run good. I mean, paired up a couple of numbers there, but I think if it comes up wet, this horse is definitely going to be in the mix. 2 for 2 in the wet track. But, Kevin Smith, another one, sneaky jockey, likes to kick home prices when he wins. So I'll definitely be using Feisty Fist. And, I didn't even have that info that you just gave me. You never know. Too much info. You know how it goes. Too much info.
The trainer likes him.
That's good. No, that's good to know. The 10th race on the card, Saturday, Louisiana Champions Day Sprint. This one, 100,000, 6 furlongs for the older ones here. And is there a cooler horse in this race than Monty Man?
You talk about an old warrior. I love them old horses that just keep coming back year after year. I mean, look at him. He's made $734,000, and he's just strictly a sprinter.
Right.
But he loves the fairgrounds. 6 wins and 9 lifetime starts. He won this race last year and got away at 6-1.
I know.
I don't think he'll be the favorite again this year. But he's training well, and Adam Basinski rides him very well. The Biscuit's done really well on him. So I got to think he's got a big shot in here, along with Ron Faucher's other horse, Birdie's Galaxy, who was a 3-2 favorite in this race last year and just didn't really fire her race, his best race, but come off of a real solid 5 furlong race at Delta in his last start, and he's training really well. Also has a couple of really nice fast workouts, finishing up well. I think the question mark cost to me is the horse that's the morning line favorite is No Parole. He didn't run very well. And then he put him on a layoff after the Count Fleet when he was running that Great Estate race. But then coming off of the long layoff, he ran for about a quarter of a mile and then just backed up and all but was eased in his last start. Mm-hmm. He's come back and worked okay at the fairgrounds. Nothing eye-catching, but he's worked okay. And, he'll take a lot of action. So, he's got a class. He's a graded stakes winner, grade 1 stakes winner. So, he's got some back class, but he's going to have to use some of that back class if he wants to beat this field because this isn't no slouch or walkover.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, maybe what the plan is here on this horse going forward. Obviously, that grade 1 win, he just had a remarkable campaign in 2020. And I was curious, but I wanted to ask you how he looked in the mornings because, Tom's not going to run this horse if he's not right. And that race to Louisiana Downs, who knows what went wrong there and why he pulled up and was basically eased. I don't know. You kind of want to make him show it to you again because he hasn't seen the winner's circle since February at Delta in stakes bred in a Louisiana State bred company. So, like you said, this isn't the easiest spot, but it's against La Breds. He's got an outside post. He's got speed. The horse, if he's right, he's got speed. Do you want to take a stand here? If you take a stand, you could get paid. But if not, if No Parole's right, he rolls this field. He just rolls them.
Oh, no.
You just don't know.
You don't know what No Parole's going to show up.
That's right. You don't know which one's going to show up. So if he takes too much money, you maybe play against him. But also, too, that could mean that he's live. So we'll see what happens there. I think he breaks out of the gate. And then you got Birdie's Galaxy, takes 2 to tango. I think their only chances, they could try to press. And they might run themselves into the ground if No Parole's out there winging it on the front end. I think it sets up for a horse named Sir Wellington. And that's going to be my top pick in this race is Sir Wellington for Hugh Robertson, Marcelina Pedroza, who's been hot as a firecracker. I think that last race at Churchill was strictly a prep. It was a fast race. I had those numbers a little bit higher on the buyer speed figure than really what it was. He won the juvenile last year for Pedroza. I think this horse, second off the layoff, is going to set the perfect trip. And if I get anywhere close to 8-1, it could be bad news.
Well, hey, I can't knock him. He's a hard-trying little horse, and you was very high on him last year, and he ran a couple of good races here at the fairgrounds. He ran a solid race on the juvenile when he won, beat a pretty decent field. And if you look at his last, like you said, his last race, that was a pretty solid allowance company that he ran against, and he showed good speed and then backed up a little bit through the last 16th of a mile, but 29% second off to the layoff for you, so definitely a horse. I can't surprise if he pops up and wins.
And look, he was 3 lengths behind a horse called Shadow Matter for Dallas Stewart, who would definitely be favored, I think, in this field too. Shout him out as a nice sprinter that Dallas has. So, I'm going to go with Sir Wellington in the sprint and see what happens. Maybe take a little stand against the Fauché duo and Tom Amoss in the 10th race on the card. That is the Louisiana Champions Day Sprint. We're going to take a break here real quick, come back and get back to the back half of the card. We got the last couple of races to talk about, and then we'll give our best bets for this coming weekend. Back on the Fairgrounds Racing Podcast right after this. History in horse racing means something, and the folks at Louisiana Craft Butchers can certainly tell you about horse racing in New Orleans. Another historic element in New Orleans is the food culture, and at Louisiana Craft Butchers, they specialize in delivering the perfect meats for all your needs, whether it is a tailgate extravaganza, watching football at home with friends, or holiday feast. Louisiana Craft Butchers offers it all, from boudin, hogshead cheese, and tamales, to selling over 20 different sausages, including the New Orleans favorite Palmisano homemade Italian sausage, which is a family recipe of Angelo Palmisano Sr. and his wife dating back to the 1940s. Don't take my word for it. Check it out for yourself. Louisiana Craft Butchers out in Kenner. Check them out at lacraftbutchers.com or give them a call, 504-466-9788. That's 504-466-9788, or online at lacraftbutchers.com. Back here in the Fairgrounds Racing Podcast, Chad Schexnayder with Mike Diliberto, taking a look at the Louisiana Champions Day card. And we got 3 races to go, so let's get into it. The 11th race on the card Saturday is the turf race. It's the Louisiana Champions Day turf, won last year by 91 Assault, who was a really good Louisiana bred and loved the turf here at Fairgrounds. Mike, there's no 91 Assault in this race, and to be honest with you, I throw a dart at this race. I mean, especially if it stays on the turf, and then the turf could be wet. If it comes off the turf, who knows? But let's just for now, just for the sake of it, say it stays on the turf. Where do you go in this race?
I agree with you 100%. And Brett Calhoun's got 3 horses in here. Like you said, who took the money? You're not sure if he's going to, run in this race or not. Highland Creek, he was the one that's 1-for-1 on the turf, so I would think he would be the one that stays on the turf. It did a really good race. I mean, Carla's Dream, I mean, you can't knock this horse. I mean, won a stake race at Louisiana Downs against a lot of these same horses, has done well over the turf, 3 wins and 4 tries at this distance. So I made him the slight favorite in here. Mangelsland, this one for Fauché, looked very good opening week, winning in a wire-to-wire fashion. He'd run 3rd behind Carla's Dream over in that stake race at Louisiana Downs. So yeah, I think he's got a shot. Brett's horse, Highlands Creek, I really liked his maiden win. The race when he broke his maiden on the turf here at the Fairgrounds. And then he came back and ran some solid races on the dirt. But I think he's definitely got a legitimate shot in here. Another horse stepping up in company that they tried him last year in this race against the big horse, at 91 Assault. And he didn't embarrass himself running against 91 Assault. Boudreaux Talking. Brett Calhoun, they got him. They just taken over racing him. And I think, off of his best effort, he could pop up and win. Another one, Brit's a Closer, another horse that finished second, splitting Carla's Dream in Marylandson. Off of the turf, definitely has a chance. But believe me, this is a race you're going to have to spread for your pick 4s and pick 5s.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I love the ride that Marcelino Pedroza gave Mangelsson last time. He took it right to him right out the gate, put this horse in the lead, and just kept going. And actually the horse galloped out really well. And drew off in the stretch. Now that was against Lesser and Allowance Company, but I don't see really how much it's really going to change. I mean, I hope they employ the same strategies, and having the rail, I think that's where he's got to go. He's going to have to be on the front end, and unless Get Them Justin is coming off that layoff, he's got some early numbers too that can maybe run with him. But he's never been on the Fairgrounds turf for Sturgis Ducoing, and I'm not sure how much class this one has. Never really been in stakes company, so Mangelsson looks like the speed of the race.
No, and like you said, from the rail, that's going to be their deal. They're going to send him to the front and see if he can keep going, and hopefully they don't press him too hard early, and he'll be able to do it.
Yeah, it could be just that easy. We'll see, but this is a very competitive race, like you said. I think the best closer, looking at it, the best closer in the field is probably on the outside in JC's Royalty, but this horse has a win over the turf. Cortland Harrison is the trainer. You got Declan Carroll. If he's the best closer, he's 12-1. He's going to have to work out a trip, and just not sure what kind of trip he's going to get. But, man, these turf races at the fairgrounds, we've said it over and over. It's hard to go with the favorite, really. I mean, the favorite just seems to not win all the time.
You're right.
It's been priced.
Turf races have been very, very wide open, a lot of them, because because you got so many competitive fields. So that's what hurts, and they're usually big fields.
Right. So, don't be shy to take a price on the turf races at the fairgrounds, not just on Saturday, just in general. The 12th race on the card wraps up the stakes portion of it, and it's the Louisiana Champions Day Lassie. This one for 2-year-old fillies. Whole lot of good things going on in this race, Mike. I think you got some nice fillies here. And I was going back through a lot of these pedigrees. There is a ton of turf. And a lot of these horses' pedigrees that I started marking. I'm like, maybe this one be good in the turf. Maybe this one be. So I'm like, man, when these horses pop on the turf, you might want to check them out because there's a lot of them in here with some turf pedigrees. But a really good field. And I know you got a 9-5 favorite who I am completely against. Talk about Free Like a Girl.
Well, I mean, how can you knock her? She's won three stake races in a row, and her last stake race was an open company race against a pretty good Brad Cox filly named Sea Level, and they turned that into a match race, being 15 and a half lengths in front of the third place finisher. So, but the fact that she's shortening back up to 3/4, probably not her best distance 3/4. Probably wants to go a little longer than that. So, class-wise, and she's won 4 of 8 starts, so she's got more seasoning than everybody. She deserves to be a solid favorite, but I'm with you. The fact that she's cutting back to 6 furlongs, I don't think she's a single. You have to, take several other horses in here. Another one, Basalt Street, Gary Scherer, ran a big race with her last time out, drew away impressively and won by 8 lengths. Can't knock her. Emil Schwant, they claimed this horse off of Dallas Stewart up at Churchill first time out of a win, came back to win very easily. I think a wild card in here might be Sam Davis' filly, Dreamin' Maneri. This filly really ran a big race first time out and beat Basalt Street easily, convincingly by 3 lengths. She's also been working very well at the fairgrounds, finished up real well in both of her workouts recently. I think this is another race that you can't just single the solid favorite. Look for some value, and if you beat the favorite, you're going to, get paid.
Yeah, Free Like a Girl, this could be her ninth start of her 2-year-old year. They only paid $5,500 for us. They got way more money out of this horse than they probably bargained for. But she's on the brink of $200,000 in earnings. She's a Delta horse. I just think new track coming to the fairgrounds. I just see her dropping off. That figure size, she did go down a little bit in that Delta race at the mile distance. This is just one of those things where I got to be against this horse. So we'll see coming to the fairgrounds how much money she really takes. And there's some talented fillies, like you said. A lot of them, not as seasoned overall. But, I think the stretch will do a good. It's hard to knock a horse that likes to win. But I think at her price, I'm going to look elsewhere as well. Basalt Street, like you said, very, very impressive opening weekend. That maiden race that she just galloped. And the horse that beat her, like you said, that Dreaming of Niani, for Sam David, got left at the break. I mean, and that first start over at Delta was completely left at the break. Came and just galloped and galloped out great. One going away, about 3. Interesting that race has had 4 horses come out of it. 2 have won, and 1 came in third. The half to this one, Duvet, is also have the same owners. Ran third and made special weight last week. But Dreaming of Niani, I think, could definitely improve off of that race, improve off those figures. Distorted humor. You don't see many Louisiana breds about distorted humor. So,
and I think the further they go too, I think she'll like to stretch out. So I think this is a filly that she has a bright career coming up.
Yeah, I think she could be the one maybe to pop up and win here. Whole lot of Mo at 15-1. This is kind of what I want to talk about. You had Tim Thornton on Dreaming of Nini last time. Tim Thornton goes to Whole Lot of Mo, and this is a Mo Tom, the Benson horse that won the LeCompte. The Mo Tom filly that actually gave Mo Tom his first win, I believe. So this horse has 2 wins, one of them in Stakes Company over at Louisiana Downs. Tim Thornton chooses to ride this one.
I don't think he chose it.
You don't think he chose it? Marcelino Prologue got in
Rick
there?
Mocklin's in the Sam David barn working all these horses, and he worked Dreaming of this horse twice. So
That's
I think Tim Thornton kept the horse he could get a mount on.
Yeah, and a Whole Lot of Mo lost to Free Like a Girl last time at Delta, but Mo Tom, like the racetrack here at the fairgrounds, that's an interesting horse too at a price. And then you got Medley, for Steve Asmussen. Steve's going to get off the duck, and this horse is running against Louisiana breds for the first time. And that race at Churchill, let me tell you, at Open Company, this horse shook away. And, Tyler Gaffalione was riding hot, during that time and was a slight favorite. But I got to figure really about 10 points higher than what it shows on the buyer speed. On the buyer speed thing, I love Dominus horses. Dominus is the sire of this one. The dam was a winner of the Red Camellia in 2012 on the turf. Like I talked about the turf pedigrees here. This one gets on the turf, I'll be a lot more interested. But first time against Louisiana breds, Brian Hernandez, Steve Asmussen. Watch out for Medley.
Believe it. Hey, Brian Hernandez is the owner. She's live. Believe that.
No doubt. That's a very competitive race in the 12th. It wraps up late in the day. The maiden special weight race here. We're not sure what Braun and Brow is going to do here in the 13th. That horse could stay in the juvenile. But if this horse does choose to go into the maiden ranks, you got to think 3-1. I think that horse probably gets bet down in this spot.
I agree with you. And then if he goes in the maiden race, he deserves to be a solid favorite. I mean, he comes off of a third-place finish in an open company race at Del Mar. Worked real well here at the Fairgrounds, 47-3, adding the blinkers. So I would think if he's in here, he's the one to beat. I tell you a horse to watch, number 6, Big Chopper, showed a lot of speed in both of those gate works, 35-2, 48-3, and in his last one, 35 flat. It was 5 lengths in front of Sitster, who came back to win impressively on the turf in his last start last week. So that was an older horse that he blew away in the half-mile work. So I got to think, he'll be on the lead in there. Now, whether he'll be able to hold off some of these, bigger horses. Hilaire for Fauché closed very well to finish second behind the race that To the Tambourine ran. But look what, To the Tambourine and United Report both in the stake race. So,
right.
He's it's 2 decent made special weight races.
Yeah, order up in there, too, for Steve Flynn. I think this horse has a good chance. Got a race over the track in that Hilaire race with Tambourine Star, and goes back to this horse has been prepping Evangeline, but got the race over the Fairgrounds track. I think that one could be pretty tough in there as well. Interesting that Steve Asmussen bred the horse Order Up. You see that?
I didn't see that until just now.
Steve Asmussen, not only the all-time winningest trainer in North America, but a breeder of this horse in the last race. So that's very interesting. But yeah, I like Hilaire. Maybe to come back too. That horse took some money last time, and really, I think he started figuring it out in the stretch. I don't think he knew what he was. He was kind of lost there for a while, and all of a sudden he appeared. But by that time, Tambourine Star got the jump on him. So a very competitive card for Louisiana Champions Day, like it always is. Like we said, watch the weather. Not sure how that's going to shake out, but certainly a lot of good races. 13 of them after you get the 3/4 horses to start the day. Just a note that Clear Creek Stud up in Folsom will have their 2022 Stallion roster showing on Saturday, January 15th from 10:30 to 2 p.m. They will have a catered lunch, some entertainment, and special guest speakers. This year, Stallion's roster, as you know, has Star Guitar up there, whose progeny is already enjoying a very successful meet here at the Fairgrounds. So check out those guys up in Clear Creek. Val Morrell, daughter Michelle, who worked with us in the press box. Those guys up there have their Stallion show in January. Let's get on to best bets, Mike. The first week we did the handicapping show. Mine scratched in the race, and the Bourbon Street Tapping didn't do any tapping on opening week.
No.
So let's see if we can give them a winner here on Champions Day. What you got for me?
Well, I just like the way Fort Polk. This mare has been training really, really well, and I think the fact that she's back on the dirt, which I think is her best surface, I think she'll run really well, and I'm going to make her my play.
So you going with Fort Polk? I'm going to go with Sir Wellington. Talked about him in the sprint in the 10th race on Saturday. If it comes up wet, that's not going to discourage me whatsoever. I think this horse can sit a perfect trip. Seems to do well against lawbreds, runs well in open company. So give me Sir Wellington. I'll go with Sir Wellington as the best bet on Champions Day at the Fairgrounds. Our next handicapping podcast will be Christmas week when we preview, I don't know what they're calling it, but let's just call it the Santa Claus card, I guess. It's on Sunday, December 26th. That's going to be a big day.
Buddy D Day.
The Buddy D Day, that's right. Break out the Diliberto crew for that one. The stakes races that day include the new Gun Runner and Untappable Stakes for 2-year-olds, the Tenacious for older horses, the Richie Sheriff Memorial, which is sprinting on the turf. Got the Blushing KD, and you got to be there for the Buddy D, man. The Buddy D older on the turf.
I'll be there. We'll be giving out the trophy.
Beautiful. Well, you can follow all the Fairgrounds action at fairgroundsracecourse.com or on Twitter at fairgroundsnola. Follow me also on Twitter at Schexnayder. For Mike Diliberto, till next time, enjoy the races. I'm Chad Schexnayder. Good luck, everybody.